There's a number that should terrify you. The average American car payment just crossed $700 a month. Not for a luxury vehicle, for a regular car. And the people signing those loan documents aren't rich. They're your coworkers, your neighbors, your family members. So how is this happening? And more importantly, what is it actually costing them? Here's what the dealership never shows you. That $700 payment isn't the price of the car. It's the price of the illusion that you can afford the car. The actual cost is something most people never calculate, and by the time they do, they're already trapped. Let me give you a number that reframes everything. A $55,000 truck with a 7-year loan at 6% interest runs you about $800 a month. Add insurance at $250, fuel at $350, maintenance averaging $180 a month over the life of the vehicle, and your real monthly cost is roughly $1,580. Over 7 years, that's $132,720 spent on an asset that will be worth maybe $14,000 when the loan is paid off. You just paid $132,000 for a $14,000 truck. That's not transportation. That's the most expensive mistake most people will ever make, and they'll repeat it every 7 years for the rest of their lives. So let's talk about how the system is designed to make this feel rational, because it didn't happen by accident. The first mechanism is loan term extension. In 1990, the average car loan was 48 months. Today, it's 72 months. Some lenders are now pushing 84 and 96-month terms. The math behind this is psychologically brilliant and financially devastating. Extend a $60,000 loan from 4 years to 8 years, and the monthly payment drops from roughly $1,400 to $850. The buyer focuses on the monthly number. The dealership focuses on the $14,000 in additional interest they just collected. Two people in that room understand what just happened. One of them is wearing a tie. The second mechanism is negative equity recycling. Here's how it works in practice. Someone buys a $45,000 SUV with a 7-year loan. 3 years in, they owe $28,000. The car is worth $22,000. They're underwater by $6,000. They want a new car, so the dealer offers to roll that $6,000 deficit into the new loan. Now they're financing $6,000 of a car they no longer own inside a new loan for a car they're about to buy. They drive off the lot $6,000 behind before the new car even depreciates. Do this twice and you're potentially financing $15,000 of ghost debt from vehicles you traded away years ago. The average person does this 4 times in their lifetime. This is not bad luck. This is the mathematically guaranteed outcome of the loan structure, and the dealers who designed this system understand compound interest better than the customers who signed the paperwork. The third mechanism is what I call the identity premium. Car manufacturers have spent decades converting a depreciating asset into a personality statement. The truck in the commercial isn't hauling lumber, it's signaling dominance, competence, and success. The buyer isn't purchasing transportation, they're purchasing a version of themselves they want to project. When you frame a financial decision as identity, rational analysis collapses. You can't tell someone their truck payment is destroying their net worth without them hearing that you're attacking who they are. The industry engineered this dynamic deliberately. It's the same reason luxury watch brands don't advertise the time-telling function. They advertise belonging. Now, here's the psychological trap nobody talks about. Once someone commits to a high car payment, they enter a mental state called commitment bias. They've already signed, they've already driven it home. Every subsequent decision gets filtered through the need to justify that first decision. The payment isn't a mistake, it's proof they made it. They deserve this, they work hard. And so the $1,200 monthly payment becomes non-negotiable while everything else in their budget gets compressed. Smaller apartment, fewer vacations, less retirement contribution. The car wins every budget negotiation because walking it back feels like personal failure. I want you to see what this actually costs in the language that matters most: opportunity cost. Someone who takes that $800 monthly car payment and instead invests it into a basic S&P 500 index fund at 7% annual return over 7 years ends up with approximately $70,000. They avoided $132,000 in total vehicle costs and built $70,000 in assets simultaneously. The spread between those two outcomes is $202,000. That's the real price of the car, not $55,000, not $132,000. $202,000 in foregone wealth over 7 years from one vehicle decision. Make that same decision 4 times across a working career, and you've transferred approximately $800,000 from your future self to the automotive financing industry. That money doesn't disappear. It goes to the bank collecting interest, the manufacturer capturing margin, and the insurer pricing your risk. Everyone in the transaction wins except the person in the driver's seat. Here's where the numbers get uncomfortable. The median American household income is about $78,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $5,500 a month. The average car payment plus insurance plus fuel for one vehicle is now consuming 25 to 30% of that take-home income. For households running 2 car payments, which is now common, that percentage climbs to 40 or 50%. Half of monthly income gone before rent, before groceries, before retirement. And because the payments are automatic, they become invisible. People don't feel them as choices anymore. They feel like fixed costs, like utilities, like weather. That psychological shift from discretionary to fixed is exactly how the trap closes. So what actually separates the people who avoid this from the people who don't? It's not income. I've seen people making $200,000 a year drowning in car payments, and people making $65,000 a year building real wealth. The difference is one framework applied consistently. Step 1 is calculating true monthly cost before you ever sit in the showroom. Payment plus insurance plus average monthly fuel reserve plus monthly maintenance reserve. For most new trucks and SUVs, that number will be between $1,200 and $1,800. That's what you're actually committing to, not the number on the sticker. Step 2 is applying the 10% rule. Your total vehicle costs, everything included, should not exceed 10% of your gross annual income. If you make $80,000 a year, your all-in vehicle budget is $8,000 annually, or roughly $670 a month total. Not just the payment, everything. Most people buying $55,000 trucks on $70,000 salaries are running vehicle costs at 25 to 35% of gross income. That's not a car payment, that's a second mortgage on a depreciating asset. Step 3 is buying on the depreciation curve, not the retail curve. A 3-year-old version of almost any vehicle has already absorbed 40 to 50% of its total depreciation. The mechanical risk increase is minimal. The cost decrease is enormous. Someone who buys a 3-year-old truck for $28,000 instead of a new one for $55,000 captures $27,000 in value that the first owner lost. Do that across a lifetime of vehicle purchases, and you're looking at a 6-figure difference in net worth from transportation decisions alone. Step 4 is understanding what you're actually financing. When you take a 7 or 8-year loan, you're not financing a car. You're financing the bank's interest income for nearly a decade. A $55,000 loan at 6% over 7 years costs you $12,500 in interest alone. That $12,500 buys you nothing. It purchases no equity, no asset, no experience. It's the pure cost of not having cash. Every dollar of interest you pay is a dollar that could have been compounding in your portfolio. At 7% annual return, $12,500 invested becomes roughly $21,000 in 7 years. You're not just paying $12,500 in interest, you're paying $12,500 plus the $8,500 in growth you won't see. The real cost of financing is always higher than the stated interest rate when you account for opportunity cost. Step 5 is recognizing that the monthly payment is not the measure of affordability. This is the central lie the entire automotive financing industry is built on. The dealership will always find a way to make the payment fit your budget. Extend the term, lower the rate, roll in the negative equity, adjust the down payment. They have infinite tools to hit your target monthly number. But hitting a monthly number is not the same as making a sound financial decision. The question is never, can you make the payment? The question is, what does making this payment cost you in the life you're trying to build? Here's the reframe that changes how you see every car purchase for the rest of your life. Every dollar going into a car payment is a dollar not going into an asset that grows. The car goes down, the index fund goes up. The gap between those two trajectories, compounded over a career, is the difference between retiring with options and retiring with obligations. Most people don't do this math until they're 58 and staring at a retirement account that should have 2 more digits in it. By then, the compounding window is mostly closed, and the payments are still running. The people who build real wealth treat transportation as a cost to minimize, not a signal to maximize. They drive boring cars, they buy used, they pay cash when possible, and they funnel the difference into assets that work while they sleep. It is not complicated, but in a culture that celebrates the truck and ignores the portfolio, it requires a clarity about what you're actually optimizing for. Your car tells people what you spent. Your net worth tells you what you built. Only one of those numbers matters when you stop working.